is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy.
Can we all just admit that I was right about Mac Jones from the start? He's good. He's not great. And they have made him worse by what they have done to him this year.
The passion.
This UVM team is the most athletic team I can remember in the 8 years I've been covering them. They're that fast. They're that quick. They're that bouncy.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Craig Breslow might be great, but he's got to start spending money. I think he's going to, but he better start soon.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Monday here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show tonight, all 90 minutes. We're up until 7 o'clock, and then it's Jazz with George Thomas. We got a lot to get to. Nick Fiorillo is going to stop by from the UVM men's basketball team. We'll do that about 6:30. Cats coming off a tough loss against Colgate. We'll talk a little bit about that. They're now 8-3 on the year. We'll talk a lot about Shohei Ohtani. We'll get to that coming up in about 10 minutes or so. The controversy in yesterday's NFL game between the Chiefs and the Bills. Got some stuff out of the Patriots camp. Bill Belichick on College Game Day. Got a lot of stuff to get to. I am here. Danny is here. You can be here as well. 802-585-3026. That is our text line number, 802-585-3026. Danny, hope you had a great weekend. Lego.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont, and upstate New York's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, as well as Rouse's Point, New York. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. They're also located at Swanton Lumber. I want to get to the Ohtani stuff here in just a moment, but Danny, let me ask you this. Well, is your family a Christmas tree family? You have a Christmas tree?
Yes.
Okay. Now, cut down your own tree, pre-cut tree, or fake tree?
We buy it, but we don't cut it.
Okay, so you buy a pre-cut tree.
Yes.
Okay. Is it already up?
Yes, it is.
Is it already decorated?
Yep. I had no part in it, but it is.
You had no part in the decorating?
Zero. I was going to the Patriots game that weekend. They did it.
They did it? Well, they did it without you?
I guess so.
Does that offend you or bother you?
Not really.
Well, that bothers me for you. I like being part of the holiday.
I do too, but it happened and it's up. They wanted to do it, so.
Okay. Anyway, I'll take that up with them at a separate meeting here. But I did the Christmas tree thing. Jess and I did this week. And I got to tell you, I can't go 1 year, without having some kind of Christmas tree fiasco. Okay. Something always goes wrong when I buy a Christmas tree. This should be like the easiest thing in the world to get the tree, put the tree up, decorate the tree without things happening. Invariably, every year, something goes wrong for me or something gets made way harder than it should. Before I get to this weekend, let me recap my Christmas tree buying history here. So Jess and I moved into our apartment in Essex 2016. We moved in right in December. We did not get a Christmas tree that year. We moved in like December 6th. We were going to be home back in New York for the holiday. We had to finish moving some stuff over the holiday, so we didn't get one then. I believe we got one 2017, 2018, and 2019, I think. So in 2017, I've never cut down a tree before at this point. My family always did what your family has done, gets the pre-cut tree, right? And I have no problem with the pre-cut tree. Well, Jess always said her family had done the cut down your own tree thing. And at that point, I didn't even know it was an option. Like, I didn't even know that people cut down their own tree, right? I was younger. I was more naive about it. I always just gotten, you go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, you go to, in New York, we had this place called Hewitt's. You go there, you get the tree and go on your way. So we cut down the tree in 2017, right? We go over to White's Tree Farm in Essex. And I've never even used a saw really at this point. This thing took me like 25 minutes to cut down, right? Like they gave us dull blade or bad user or both, but it took like 25 minutes to cut the tree down. It should take like 3. It should take like 30 seconds to cut the tree down. It took me like 25. So we're standing, so she's standing there with our dog who's with us. It's like 20 degrees and snowing, and I'm there just kind of So that was year one. Year two, this one was the all-timer, Danny. This one was the all-timer. So we have a tree stand that we had used the year before. We go get a tree. It does not fit in the tree stand, right? So then I have to go out and get a different tree stand to get the stronger, more plastic one. This one was metal. It was for a smaller tree like the first year was. Then now it doesn't fit. So I go get the different one. And then what I realize is that the base of the tree is too short. The base of the tree does not go to the bottom of the tree stand. That is a problem in that basically the tree is kind of suspended in midair in the stand, and it's very subject to leaning and therefore falling. So what I did, a previous radio station that I was at, Danny, I don't know if you remember this, but at our old radio station, we were given every year like a zillion magnetic Red Sox schedules. Like a zillion of them. We're supposed to give them away whenever we went out, right? Things you would put on your refrigerator. So I just had boxes of Red Sox schedules. They were thick. They were heavy. There were like 500 of them in a package. So I took one of those Red Sox schedules, one of those packets of them, stuck it on the bottom of the tree stand and put the tree on top so that now something was at least on the bottom. The tree is still kind of suspended in midair, but there's something on the bottom. And then I believe I had to wrap it in a T-shirt or something to stabilize it even further. Now, the T-shirt's ruined, schedules are ruined because the water's going in the tree. So we get the tree up and we put it up. And then like 3 days later, Jess calls me, tree's fallen, right? It's all decorated. One ornament is broken. Tree is fallen. So you know what I had to do for this rest of that Christmas season, Danny? I had to take a belt and tie it to a weight and put the weight behind the tree with the belt now holding the tree up and pulling the tree back towards the back of the room so that it was no longer leaning over to the front and would fall. This was my Christmas white trash repair of having a belt tied to a kettlebell behind the tree to keep the tree from falling. So that was year two. Year three, I don't remember what the issue was. Then COVID, I don't think we got one. I don't know. I can't remember if you couldn't go get a tree. I don't remember. Maybe we went back to New York, but we didn't have a tree COVID 2020. 2021, 2022, we went the fake tree, and I forget why we did it, but we had a fake tree for 2 years. We went back to the real tree this year. And evidently, I have learned nothing from the previous years of getting trees, and I end up at a similar spot. Somehow, we threw out our tree stand. I don't know how we did. Maybe I think we thought we were going to move. So we're like, okay, let's clear some stuff out for preparation for it. We won't need this again. Well, here we go. Joke's on us. We needed the tree stand after all. And so I go get a tree stand. Says it fits up to 8 feet. Okay, great. I don't take anything out of the packaging, or the tree stand out of the packaging, the screws, the bolts, whatever. We go, we get the tree, we take our dog, we cut it down again. And this one, I'm good. Good saw, good operator, cut it down. This thing's done in 30 seconds. I'm like, all right. I had measured. I'm like, okay, this tree stand, how deep is it? The tree needs to be at least 7 inches. There needs to be at least 7 inches for the tree to get to the bottom of the stand. Well, there's 7 inches until the main part of the tree happens. So I'm like, okay, great. I neglected to realize that, of course, there's 2 giant branches at about 4 inches. So I go to put the tree in, and the tree is now, these branches are in the way. So the tree will once again not go to the bottom. So I am thinking to myself, well, if I just cut off these branches, now everything will fit. But then I'm like, well, this branch basically is like half the tree is attached to this branch. So I can't do that. So I'm trying then to screw the things in. And I'm like, well, let's just force this bad boy down as far as we can. Doesn't work. So once again, I go with the schedule trick, even though I don't have Red Sox schedules. I put like a little metal platform that I happen to have. It's basically like a little tin box. I put that on the bottom of the tree stand. Now the tree is resting on the top of that. And I'm like terrified that this thing is going to collapse, that the weight of the tree is going to collapse this metal stand, and then everything's going to fall over. So that's worry number one. Then I'm trying to screw the things in, and the base of the tree is very, very thin. This is a nice tree, but it's a thin tree. The stakes do not reach the tree. They do not reach the tree. So I'm like, okay, nothing is happening here. So I take the tree out, lay the tree on the floor on a blanket. And I'm like, okay, let me really go to work on this thing. Well, I realized that I haven't assembled the tree stand correctly. So now we're working on that. Then I get the tree stand, all the 5 little screws here, basically about as close as they can get. I put the tree back on and I'm like, okay, it should fit now. So now it's too close. I got to unscrew them. Then I finally get them touching, and it's like, well, the 4 are touching and the 1 isn't. So now I'm worried about it leaning back. And then I'm like, well, it's standing up, but it's standing against the wall. And how much of this is that it's standing on its own, or how much of it is that it's against the wall? So I move it back I move it over 6 inches, and I'm like, okay, is it going to fall on me or whatever? So right now, here's where we're at with the tree. The tree is in the stand. The tree has a metal tin underneath the tree base to basically make up the 2 or 3 inches that the tree doesn't reach to the bottom of. And it is now away from the wall in a position that it should be. I am now just waiting for this thing to fall at this point.
No belt?
No belt, no kettlebell. So that is a plus, at least as of now. But the lights have not gone on yet. So I'm worried that as we put the lights on, maybe tonight, that the maneuvering around the tree, the touching of the tree, if I blow on the tree in the wrong direction, I'm worried that something's going to fall. So I'm worried about lights. And then if that works, we'll probably wait another day or two to do the ornaments. And I'm worried that the ornaments then are going to at some point fall. We're going to have a repeat. And I am going to need the belt and kettlebell method to keep this thing going. So I have not seen all of Christmas Vacation. I know it's a famous movie. Sue me that I haven't seen it all. I know I haven't seen it all, and I know that's a sin and I should see it. But I know about Clark Griswold and how everything goes wrong for him. That is what I feel like. Cutting a Christmas tree and putting a Christmas tree in a simple stand and keeping it in your living room for anywhere between 2.5 and 4 weeks should be a relatively easy task. But me, the learning how to become a handy person has not figured out how to master this yet. So there was my weekend, Danny. I cut down a tree. I barely got a tree in a stand, and now I'm waiting for it to fall. Frankly, I hope Jess tells me she doesn't want to decorate it until December 23rd, because I don't want to touch this tree until I absolutely have to. Because I don't want
set in by then.
It's not that I hope it to set in. I don't want to touch it. I'm afraid I put an ornament on a branch, the whole thing's going to collapse. That's what I feel like.
Ooh, somebody sent a good picture of a tree stand for you.
Someone has sent me a tree stand that requires no screws. Oh, I like that. How many people? So it can hold up to 8 feet. It basically has like a vice grip, essentially, that goes around the tree. Where were you, Ross, 4 days ago when this happened?
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Kyle in South Burlington. Brady, why didn't you let him cut the tree so it would fit all the way down to the tree stand? Well, because I had measured and said, okay, there are 7 inches here until the remainder of the tree. But I neglected to realize that there were 2 giant branches in the way, because I clearly measured it in a spot where there were no branches. So it's not their fault. It's my fault.
I think that text was for the one with the Red Sox magnets.
Huh?
I think that one was meant, why didn't you cut the branches on that one the first time?
To
make it sink to the bottom.
Texter says, Brady, this is bad. You have to be kidding me. Well, look, what have I said about this show, Danny? I'm going to be honest and transparent in this show. So this is my life. This is what's happened. The great steps that I made this summer. I made great steps this summer, early fall. I resurrected that entertainment center, that thing that I put in our place now. Like, I resurrected that. I found it. I shined it. I polished it. I sanded it. I repainted it. Multiple coats, primer, the whole thing.
You put up shades,
great.
Right?
Huh?
Put up shades.
I put up shades. I learned how to drill holes. I put up curtains. That was great as well. I also found something on the side of the road. Put it together again, sanded it, put it together for my parents, painted it, gave it to them as a little gift. Now they use it as something in their place. So I made great strides this year when it came to handiwork. This is not one of them, though. This is not one of them. The tree, and now also, Danny, the thing is that these branches that are still there, that are kind of coming out, protruding out of the tree stand, they're so big that it's now even hard to water the tree. I have to find like the little 1-inch crevice where I can actually get something in to water the tree. So it's all a hassle. Yes. Texter sends me a picture of people failing with Christmas trees. And then someone says, just throw the tree out the window. They say, think about it this way. You'll do much better the next time you attempt this kind of maneuver. Really? It's been at least 3 times that I've somehow found a way to fail or make this more difficult than it has to be. Right? Somehow I've made to fail or make this more difficult. And I like Christmas trees. Like, I have a great ornament collection, Danny. This is something that means a lot to me, actually. Like, my mom and dad used to get me like a new ornament every year or something. So whenever there's something that's cool, they get me the ornament of. They always did. So I have a lot of cool ornaments that are like 25, 30 years old that mean a lot to me. I don't want this thing falling over and breaking. It'd be one thing if I just had like the little plastic balls you get at Walmart just to fill out the tree. I got real ornaments here with real meaning to me. I can't have this thing falling. Stabilize the tree with a couple of guide wires from the top to the wall and back of it. Mary, that's a great idea. Do you think I know what a guide wire is? Like, if I can't even cut the tree down one year, do you think I have any idea what a guide wire is?
Just buy some fishing line or something.
That just sounds like a less trashy version of the kettlebell and the belt. That's what that sounds like to me. That's exactly what that sounds like. I've already done that, right? With the kettlebell and the belt. I did that before. I've done that. I would like it to stay up on its own. That's what I would like. We'll put up the lights maybe tonight, and we'll see how it goes. But I tell you what, these lights are not going to be wrapped tight. I am not going back in a position to be tightening things too much, because one move and it's going over. Or
at least you're tall enough to put the star on top.
No star required. Just ornaments. No star. I'll put a Mariners hat on it and call it a day.
That'll be the one that tips it over, though.
Tex says, use a long USB cord. You should know what that is. That's true. If it's technologically based, I got a good idea as to what it is. So maybe a long USB cord to pull around this thing. You know what I've got is I've got rope, because they had to tie the tree to the top of the car. So I've got rope in my front seat here. Somehow that rope might come in handy to keep this thing up at some point. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. All right. We will move on from my insane tree story to insane money. Let's start the show in earnest here. Danny, when we left on Friday, we thought that Shohei Ohtani was signing with the Toronto Blue Jays. We go 24 hours later on Saturday, and Shohei Ohtani has signed a 10-year, $700 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. From a pragmatic standpoint, this is good-ish for the Red Sox, right? Ohtani is out of the American League. This makes your limited matchups against the Angels better, right? Easier. It also means Ohtani's not playing for the Blue Jays, which makes your life easier. Your life can still get harder because the Blue Jays can still go pick up people, and Yamamoto might go to the Yankees, so it's not going to be easy for the Red Sox. But by and large, this is good-ish news for Boston that Ohtani goes to L.A. I have seen a lot of takes on social media about Ohtani, right? And I was talking to a bunch of different people about this. And Danny, I have seen people say they're rooting for Ohtani to fail because no athlete should make that much money. I've seen people say they want the Dodgers to fail because they're bad for the sport, spending this kind of money and running up the prices. I've seen people say that they'll never watch baseball again because the money is so absurd. And I've seen people say that all pro sports are out of control. Let me make this very, very clear. I do not love this, right? I do not love that Shohei Ohtani is getting a value of $70 million per year. I know that that is an overpay. I know that that's too much money to play baseball, especially in a current economic world where a lot of people can't figure out how to pay their rent, and a lot of people, including myself, cannot buy a house. I recognize that $70 million a year is too much money for a baseball player, is too much money for an athlete. But I will say this. While I recognize that, I'm not going to pound the pavement and be mad about this. I'm not going to never watch the sport. I'm not going to say the system is broken. I'm just going to tell you all that I understand the concerns, but that's as far as it goes. I don't have a massive problem with this. I don't love it, and I don't love that now the Dodgers have Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and next season feels like the Dodgers Invitational. I don't love that. I don't love it from a parity standpoint or a lack of parity standpoint. But I don't have a huge problem with him getting $700 million. And let me tell you why. First off, Danny, go back to the little news button bar we had for the afternoon news service and grab that Ben Verlander cut, right? Ben Verlander is Justin Verlander's brother. He does baseball podcasting and coverage over at Fox Sports. One of the reasons why I don't have a problem with the $700 million price tag for Ohtani is what Ben Verlander has to say.
He's the biggest free agent in sports history. People will hear that number, 700 million, and scratch their heads. And what they're going to say is, there's not an athlete that's worth that. I personally believe the baseball player is worth that. You're getting two players in one. Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, who are in the top 5 biggest contract in North American sports. Well, those are one player. Shohei is 2 players all in one. You could have paid.
So right there, Shohei Ohtani is 2 players. And look, Mike Trout got a $430 million contract a handful of years ago. Juan Soto got offered, I believe, a $450 million contract a handful of years ago when he was a younger player with the Washington Nationals. We are at the point where the best hitters in the game, if they are in their prime or headed into their prime, are going to be in that $400 to $500 million range. Shohei Ohtani, the hitter, who's won the MVP now 2 or 3 years, who led the league in home runs last year in the American League with 44, who can steal 25 to 30 bases when healthy. Shohei Ohtani, the hitter, is at the point where he's going to get $450 to $475 million. He's there. Whether you want him to be or not, he is there. Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher, who has injury concerns, who's now operating on a second elbow surgery, that guy would still get $200-ish million on the market. He would. So you add 475 and 200-ish, you get 675 there. So that's pretty darn close to 700 million. So for 2 players of that value, that is close to right. If the Red Sox gave somebody $450 million and then gave a pitcher in that same offseason $250, would you be mad about it? No, you'd be applauding them for going out and using their financial resources. So that's number 1, right? That's why I can't be super mad at Ohtani for this, or even super mad at the Dodgers. And the other thing I'll say, and I've said this before, I am pro-employee. I am not pro-ownership. Right? Look, I've never owned a business in my life. I have been an employee ever since I entered the workforce. And you and I, who are employees, right? Those of you sitting in your car, those of you listening later on the podcast channel, you will understand this. How many times have you seen people at your company make a lot of money for the company and then never get any of that filtered back to them? The answer is that happens a lot, right? Let's use realistic general workforce numbers here, okay? Let's just say, and I'm making up this number, let's say that I make $40,000 a year for WDEV, or let's say that WDEV pays me $40,000 a year, but WDEV brings in $1 billion per year. Is that fine? Well, let's say that the next year WDEV makes $10 million a year, and a lot of it is created by me, and they still want to pay me $40,000 a year. I would be upset at that, and so would you, because I'd look at it and say, damn, they just made 10 times more money last year than this year, but yet they're paying me the exact same? Well, that's not so right. That is what's going to happen with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Los Angeles Dodgers are about to make a gazillion dollars, right? You talk about Japanese TV deals. You talk about merchandise. You talk about tickets. You talk about marketability. You talk about everything. The Dodgers franchise valuation is going to go up massively because they have Shohei Ohtani. They also might win multiple World Series, which is going to bring in huge sources of revenue. The Dodgers are going to become an attraction even more so than they were before. And Shohei Ohtani is going to be directly responsible for that. So you know what? If he's bringing in $1 billion, why can't he make $700 million? The Dodgers owners, what are you for here? You're for the Dodgers making a gazillion dollars, and then the employee who was responsible for it making what? 150 million, 250 million, 350 million, whatever it is, it's not enough. Danny, play me the Kyle Glazer cut. Kyle Glazer is from Baseball America. I was listening to him on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about something very, very similar in terms of how much money Ohtani's actually worth.
Ability and global recognition he brings your franchise is unparalleled in professional sports. So you take into account what he can do on the field, the type of representative he is for your franchise, and the marketing power he brings for your club. That's not intangible value. That is hard dollars and cents. And I have no problem predicting that over the course of this contract, between ticket sales, merchandise, marketing dollars, the Dodgers, and plus what he provides them on the field, the Dodgers will make $700 million off of Shohei Ohtani. There's not a doubt in my mind.
And they're going to make more than $700 million. Now, look, you still need Ohtani to be relatively healthy. You still need him to be good in order for this stuff to happen. But it's certainly worth the risk as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm so mad that Ohtani got this money, because ownership's going to get the money. And I'm pro player over pro owner. Yes, I agree. The money is out of control, but this is where the money is, so I'm not going to complain about it. That battle was lost long ago. At this point now, I don't need the owners to go and make even more money and then keep it from their players. I've been an employee before. I don't like it. I wouldn't like it if my employer did that. If I made my employer 10 times more money than the year before and they want to pay me the same, I'm not down with that. And the other thing is, look, most of us, I don't think, are mad at Ohtani, and you're not mad at the Dodgers. I'm mad at the other owners in baseball. I've read stories this year about the Minnesota Twins and my Mariners, two teams that should be battling for the World Series, slashing payroll and making cuts and letting people go in their organization. These owners all can afford to invest in their teams, and a lot of them are choosing not to because they're clutching on to every single dollar. I look at owning a baseball team, owning a sports team, as a civic duty. A lot of these guys look at it solely as a money-making proposition. They don't care about winning. They just care about their bottom line. And I'm more mad than anything at my Mariners that they're taking a team that won 88 games a year ago, that missed the playoffs by a game, and should be adding that they've already gotten rid of 3 of their key players from last year just because they were too expensive. All they care about is being as far in the green as possible. So here's an owner in the Dodgers that's actually doing it, and I'm supposed to be mad at him for doing it? I'm mad at my team that's not doing it. If you're a Red Sox fan, you should be mad at John Henry. He could do this too. Can every owner afford $700 million? No. But can every owner afford somebody for $400 million or somebody for $300 million? Yes. And you know what the Red Sox are doing? They're sitting free agency out. The last couple of years, they've largely sat on the sidelines. John Henry has clutched every dollar that he has had for the most part the last couple of years. Yes, they spent on Story. Yes, they spent on Yoshida. They have done some stuff. But the Dodgers have Freeman, Betts. They've had Kershaw. They've got Ohtani. You're telling me the Red Sox can't do some version of that? They're choosing not to. I'm not going to be mad at the Dodgers. I'm not going to be mad at Ohtani. I'm going to be mad at the other owners that are too cheap to try to win. That's what's going to bother me. And also, Danny, I went and looked it up. You know how much money Taylor Swift has made just this year? This year alone, Taylor Swift has made $906 million on her tour and from her movie, etc. Doesn't even include merchandise and sponsorships. Now, how much of that money goes to her versus it's just revenue she's brought in? I don't know. But nonetheless, Taylor Swift is a 33-year-old billionaire. She has brought in more money this year than Ohtani's contract will serve for the lifetime of it by more than $200 million. I don't see anybody with a problem or a complaint about how much money an entertainer is making, how much money an actor is making, how much money a celebrity is making, right? The athletes have a small time to go and make money. So if you're going to pay $700 million, I'm going to accept it. He's a generational player. He's a generational talent. He's going to pay for this back and then some. Yes, they're taking a risk. He's got arm injuries. Guess what? Whether you're spending $700 million or $7 million, there's always a risk in everything you do. Good on the Dodgers for being willing to take it. Because if they win one World Series in those 10 years, it will have been worth it. If they win 2, it will have been incredibly worth it. And if they never win anything, but Ohtani gives them their money back in 10 years because he plays well, then that will have paid off also, given franchise valuations, etc. So for the people who say I'm never going to watch again, I think you're looking at this wrong.
Be mad
that your owner won't spend money rather than that the Dodgers owner did. That's how I look at this. Yes, the money's insane. I wish it wasn't as high, but it is. I'm not going to be too upset. I can recognize it, but also say it's not going to end my world. It's the Brady Farkas Show on DEV. We'll be back after CBS News.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Peter King, and we have breaking news from Washington, where the Supreme Court has just agreed to fast-track a decision that could make or break the government's election subversion case against Donald Trump. Here's CBS's Tom Foti.
It did not take long, just hours after special counsel Jack Smith asked the Supreme Court to essentially short-circuit a potential move to delay the start of the Trump election interference trial. The court agreed to fast-track its consideration of Trump's claim to be immune from criminal prosecution for actions he took while president.
A Texas woman's request for an emergency abortion has taken her out of state for treatment because her case is tied up in court. More from Houston, CBS's Janet Shamlian.
The Center for Reproductive Rights has issued a statement indicating Kate Cox has been forced to leave Texas to get health care outside of the state. And sources say she will be getting an abortion. The 31-year-old is more than 20 weeks pregnant with a fetus diagnosed with a likely fatal genetic abnormality.
Ukraine's president is in the U.S. and lobbying for continued aid from Washington to the war with Russia. Volodymyr Zelensky tells U.S. military officials that every delay makes Vladimir Putin more dangerous.
Ukraine is just a stepping stone for Russia, a way to act like that old empire that died in 1989 and to challenge the lead of freedom wherever the Russians are alike.
He meets with President Biden tomorrow. CBS's Manuel Bajorquez is in Nashville with an update on dozens of families left homeless by tornadoes that ripped through central Tennessee.
500 homes in Clarksville sustained some type of damage, 91 of those destroyed. So that's 91 families who don't have a place to sleep, who have likely lost all their clothes and need shelter. Adding to the misery here is the fact that it's very cold. And in fact, the temperatures dipped into the mid-20s overnight.
The Auto Club says more than 115 million of us will travel 50 or more miles from home for Christmas or New Year's.
AAA projects 7.5 million air travelers this holiday season, but many are doing it now to avoid the travel rush, like Kathy visiting from D.C.
I am traveling now, and thank goodness I will be going home, so I don't have to travel at Christmas.
Dana and her family are visiting New York from Seattle.
The airports are like, no, we do not travel on Christmas. That's why we're coming early to New York, so we can enjoy Christmas here and then go and have our family Christmas back in Seattle.
Matt Piper, CBS News, New York.
An unusual eclipse is only visible in one part of the U.S., South Florida, as the asteroid Leona blots out the bright star Betelgeuse later tonight. The Dow is up 157. This is CBS News.
You don't need a job platform, you need a hiring partner. Indeed lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from one place. Start at Indeed.com/credits.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
It's Macy's Great Gift Sale. Take an extra 20% off gift ideas from designers they'll love with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of great deals on women's sweaters, coats, and PJs, 25 to 50% off. Beauty essentials from Origins, Elizabeth Arden, and more, 25 to 40% off. And the season's hottest toys, 15 to 50% off. Plus, everyone gets $10 Macy's money for every $50 spent. Now at Macy's. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Attention families, this holiday season, give a gift of education to the kids and get a tax credit for yourself. Celebrate a child in your life by saving for their college or training. Vermont's 529 Savings Plan, sponsored by VSAC, is the only plan that qualifies for a 10% Vermont income tax credit on contributions. Open or add to an account by December 31st to maximize your credit. Get started at vsac.org/save. That's vsac.org/save.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results. Glenn Mink of Stowe Insurance Group tells us why he advertises with WDEV.
We're heavily involved in the community like we like to be. We feel they're an excellent partner for our advertising dollars. The market penetration is second to none in Central Vermont. We've been with them for almost 40 years, and we hope to be with them for another 40 years.
Advertising with WDEV gets results. Inquire today at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Danny, the news just came out about Shohei Ohtani's contract. This is wild. So it's 10 years and $700 million. Ohtani is going to make $2 million a year. $2 million a year for all 10 years. He is going to be paid $20 million by the Dodgers over 10 seasons. The next 10 years, when the contract's over, he's going to make $680 million.
He's deferring all of it?
He is deferring 680 of $700 million. Now, I am going to need to be briefed on all of this from a legal standpoint. My first reaction to this is, wow. My second reaction to this is Ohtani is still going to be fine money-wise. $2 million is still a lot of money. So $20 million over 10 years is a lot. Ohtani reportedly makes $50 million a year in endorsements anyways. So it's not like he's not going to be getting paid a lot of money each of these years. So Ohtani's going to get a ton of money. It's insane that the Dodgers are going to be paying $68 million a year to a player who is likely not on their roster. We make fun of the Mets for having Bobby Bonilla Day, $1 million a year for 20 years or whatever. The Dodgers are going to have a $68 million bill every single year. That's what this is coming down to, right? They're going to have a $68 million a year every year. Now, I guess the thought process is that Ohtani is going to make them so much money that they're going to have a bunch in the bank that they can then afford to pay him. But, and then my third reaction to this is what's not good for baseball, because the Dodgers are now going to save a bunch of money. Now, again, it's very confusing and I don't have all of the answers on this, but the bottom line is that instead of being penalized $70 million a year, the Dodgers are going to be paid $45 million a year. How that happens, I don't quite know. Even though Ohtani's only making $2 million, the Dodgers collective bargaining tax or collective balance tax is $45 million a year. I don't know exactly how that works. But the bottom line is this, that the Dodgers are essentially saving $25 million a year, and now they can go and get even better. That is a problem for baseball.
Other owners must hate them.
I'm sure other owners hate them for this. Okay, not so much for the $700 million, because at least if you paid them $70 million a year, we could look at it and say, well, hey, that's a lot of money tied up in one player. They won't really be able to do anything else. No. Now they can do more things, right? So they've got Betts, they've got Freeman, they've got Ohtani, and now who else can they go get with $25 million additional dollars? That's a problem for baseball. And it's a problem for baseball when the Yankees start doing it. And if the Red Sox did it, or if the Cubs did it, or these big market teams want to go out and have 4 or 5 guys that are doing this, but all these contracts are set into the future so that it doesn't really impact them now. That's the problem for baseball, right? That's the problem for baseball. And that's what baseball should be worried about. And maybe the owners will try to change it, right? They can't change it now. We just signed a collective bargaining agreement. So for the next 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever the CBA lasts, we're going to be in this world now where deferred contracts are already happening, but players tend to want their money now. Ohtani is a rare case. Maybe not every player can do what he's doing, but this is a problem moving forward, right? Not every player can do what Ohtani is doing, because not every player makes the money that Ohtani makes off the field. But this is still an issue. Great. That's a crazy deferment. Great question about legality. I bet every club that wanted Ohtani is now seeing the details and wondering how they could do it. Tex says, how can he afford to live in LA on only $2 million? I mean, that's not even a joke question, right? Because LA is ridiculously expensive. I think it's $50 million a year in endorsements. That's how. Ross says, how can they keep affording these contracts? I'd support a salary cap. Here's the problem with the salary cap, Ross. And I had somebody else say this to me also, and I had to go and do some research, and I read a tweet from Buster that said this too. So, Danny, here's why a salary cap isn't necessarily the thing we want it to be, right? Like, we hope, this is what we hope, that if there's a salary cap, let's say the salary cap is $250 million. Well, we hope that then certain teams aren't going to be able to keep certain players, and then the talent's going to more freely roam about the league like it does in the NFL, and we're going to get more parity, and you're going to have more of a chance for your team to be good, et cetera. That's what we hope. But if there's going to be a salary cap, there also needs to be a salary floor probably. And here's the problem. The big market owners are not going to want a salary cap because they want their financial ability to be a separator, right? The Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs like that they could spend more money and they don't want to be held back. But the owners that don't like to spend money, they're not going to be wanted to be told that they have to spend a certain amount of money. That, and Buster said this, I think he's right. The real issue is with the salary floor, not with the cap. Right? If they make the cap, let's say the cap is 250, but the salary floor is 125. You think the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be happy to go from, we're spending $60 million a year that we have to now spend 125? You think the Marlins are going to be happy to do that? You think the Pirates, the Royals are going to be happy that they have to spend $125 million? No, they're not. So it's not necessarily practical. And the other thing is this, guys. Again, I don't want to get too in the weeds here. In the NFL, there is a salary cap. I believe that of the revenue the league brings in, 51% of the revenue goes to teams, 49% of the revenue goes to players. So every year that the league makes more money, the salary cap goes up, right? Because every year the league makes more money. Tickets, merchandise, TV deals, YouTube TV, sponsorships, Amazon Prime, it always goes up. So every year the cap inflates. And every year, like, you think the salary cap suppresses earnings. As the cap goes up, those earnings get more crazy. We're on $40 and almost $50 million a year quarterback salaries as it is right now in the NFL. Right? We got Daniel Jones making $40 million a year already. Aaron Judge is making $40 in baseball. He is the highest annual average salary in baseball. Daniel Jones is already making that. So the NFL salaries are already out of control, even with a cap. Danny, what is Jaylen Brown making for the Celtics right now?
$300 is his total contract over the next, 5 years, I believe.
Okay, so that's an average of $60 million per year, right? In the NBA, Jaylen Brown is already making an average of $60 million per year. I think we're already talking about, like, Russell Westbrook had a deal years ago where he was in the 50s here at the end. Chris Paul had a massive deal in the upper 40s or the low 50s. So just because there is a cap doesn't mean you've seen the end of exorbitant contracts in these leagues. Those contracts are still huge. So just because you have a cap, it doesn't prevent what we're seeing in baseball.
This competitive balance tax was supposed to act as a cap in a way, right?
Yes, because if you go over the competitive balance tax, then you have to pay a penalty, right? You pay a little bit if you go over it 1 year. You pay more if you go over it 2 years. You pay a lot if you go over it 3 years. So it is a way to punish the richer teams or the more free spending teams. And it does act like that. But you know what? Sometimes the team's just going to say, screw it, let's go for it. Because the Dodgers are going to make a ton of money by having Ohtani on the roster. Joe over in Richmond. I'm with Ross. This is not right. It doesn't make baseball competitive at all that the Dodgers can keep spending all this money on these players. It needs more parity. I don't love that the Dodgers have this, right? I do not love. While I will support the employee, I will understand that at the end of the day, Ohtani is going to be worth it. I don't love that the Dodgers have all of this talent. And I don't love it if we'll see a collection of 4 or 5 teams that can run the sport. I don't. But I'm going to be more mad that my teams are choosing not to invest at all, right? Choosing not to invest at all. You're telling me the best that the Oakland A's can run out is $30 million a year. John Fisher is the richest owner in the sport, I believe, and he has an A's payroll of like $30 million a year. You're telling me he can't invest in his team to make it more competitive, right? That can't happen. The Red Sox have the ability to compete financially. They chose to not offer Mookie Betts a really, really good long-term deal. The Dodgers would not have Mookie Betts if the Red Sox ownership had tried to not tie the hands of Dave Dombrowski and then force Chaim Bloom into this. Okay, my Mariners, Seattle is a huge market. They are treating themselves like they are playing in East Sheboygan. Okay, they have chosen to cut Eugenio Suarez and Teoscar Hernandez and Jared Kelenic and Marco Gonzalez and Evan White. They have gotten rid of all of these contracts when they won 88 games a year ago and 90 the previous 2. They should be this close to winning the World Series. But instead, they're pulling back. Why? Because they're afraid of going 2% less profits than last year? Give me a break.
Didn't the Marlins do this right after winning the World Series? They just got rid of everybody?
Marlins won the World Series in 97, stripped it down. Marlins won the World Series in 03, stripped it down. And you know what? If my team won a World Series every 10 years and was competitive, I might be okay with that model also. Now, the Marlins have only made the playoffs twice since 2003, so I wouldn't love it then. But if you could guarantee me a World Series in every 10-year cycle, I just might be okay with that too. But I'm not going to fault the Dodgers for going for it when other organizations have a chance to go for it and are choosing not to. Right? That's what bothers me. That other organizations are willingly making the choice not to do this. Again, I do not think this deferred payment thing is good for the rest of baseball. That is getting the Dodgers out of payroll hell through a technicality as far as I'm concerned. I wish that rule would be changed. But I'm not going to be mad at Ohtani, and I'm not going to be mad that they're spending money because other teams have the ability to do this also. We act like, do the Yankees make more money than the Pirates? Yes, they do. But we act like the Pirates make no money. The Pirates could go out and invest. The Reds could go out and invest. The Twins could go out and invest. These teams act like one $10 million contract is going to absolutely screw them. It wouldn't. They can all afford it. Some of these teams are getting revenue sharing from bigger teams. They're all part of massive television deals on the national level. That's what expanded playoffs was for, right? Massive television deals. Payment to the little guy. They're getting money from the bigger teams. It's absurd that these teams are choosing to sit out the process for the sake of pearl clutching every dollar they have. And I'm tired of it. I am tired of it. So do I want to see the Dodgers roll through and win 128 games next year? Not particularly. Do I think the deferred payment is good for the sport? No, I don't. But I'm not going to sit here and say the Dodgers are at fault for doing something that most other teams in the league could do, including the Red Sox. The Red Sox could do this. They're choosing not to. They're choosing not to. They could have had Xander Bogaerts at a better deal. They chose not to. It's frustrating as all hell to watch these teams do it. And again, you tell me, oh, this is not right. Pro sports is crazy. Again, Taylor Swift made $900 million this year. And you know what? She works really hard and she performs a lot, and that's great. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Taylor Swift does not perform 200 nights a year. And that's what Shohei Ohtani is going to do. 162 regular season games, 20 spring training games, and 20 more in the postseason potentially. It's going to be a 200 night a year job for Shohei Ohtani. I'm going to bet Taylor Swift does not perform for 182 nights a year, 200 nights a year. She made $900 million this year. I don't see anybody saying, man, she's overpaid. Man, she's overpaid. Does anybody say that Beyonce's overpaid or Jay-Z is overpaid or that your favorite actor is overpaid? Well, I haven't heard that complaint ever. Ever. But we're going to sit here and say that athletes can't make money? Again, Ohtani's $70 million a year on average if you took this deal at what it's worth. But Jaylen Brown's already making 60. Is Jaylen Brown what Ohtani is? No. Wait until the next group of NBA free agents hits. What's Tatum going to get, Danny? He's going to make $65 million a year.
The Supermax, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, right. The Supermax goes up every single year.
He'll be an all-NBA player, so it'll be that extension.
Yeah, I don't know what the next crop of NBA free agents look like, but I can only think of what Anthony Edwards will eventually get from Minnesota. I can only think about what Wembanyama will eventually get from whoever, from San Antonio, if that's where he ultimately goes, in another 4 years or so. The money, these guys are going to be making $100 million in a handful of years because the cap goes up every single year. Text says, you made me laugh. This is your best show ever. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We're going to talk in a couple of minutes with Nick Fiorillo, who is the UVM men's basketball standout. He just came back from injury a handful of games ago. He's just kind of getting in the groove. He scored 14 points in the win against Northeastern, played really good. He had 8 against Yale. He had 9, I believe, the other day in the loss against Colgate. That was a tough loss against Colgate. That game was at home on Saturday. UVM is now 8-3 on the year. They lost to Colgate 77-71. Danny, I admittedly watched because I was dealing with Christmas tree drama. I admittedly watched only the first half. You watched a lot of the second half as well. So UVM was up 1 at the break. I believe 32-31. They were playing pretty well. Colgate's a very good team. Catamounts ended up getting beat by 6. An 11-0 run by Colgate at the start of the half kind of did UVM in. What was your takeaway from the second half before I give kind of some of my takeaways from the first?
A lot of the same to me. It felt like it was difficult to score. And then every time they pushed an 11-point lead down to 4, it got pushed back up to 7, back up to 11. They just couldn't get a consistent run to really stay in the game.
I got to tell you, again, some of this is box score knowledge based on the fact that I did not watch the second half. I liked what UVM had offensively. I told you last week I wanted to see this team get to 70 points a game. I wanted to see them get to 70, and I would trust that their defense could do a good enough job to keep an opponent under 69. That didn't happen in this game on Saturday. But offensively, I liked where UVM was at breakdown-wise. They had 3 players in double figures, 13 from Bogues, 11 from Long, 10 from Deloney. Then you look at it. So on the bench, they ended up getting 26 points off the bench. That's pretty darn good to me. 26 bench points is always going to be okay to me. You get then Hurley gets 9. Iofalier gets 9. A guy in him that we've asked to score more. He did that. He threw down a thunderous dunk. Offensively, I really didn't have a problem with where UVM was at in this game. They got to 70 points. They had a good spread out in scoring. They hit 8 threes.
8 of 25.
Yeah, but they still hit 8, right? I wish they'd hit 10 of 25 at that rate or 8 of 20, but they hit 8 threes. I still don't love that they don't get to the line. They were only 9 of 11 from the free throw line. But, again, they got to 70 points. I'm not going to quibble with it too much in terms of how they got there. What I don't love is defensively, they allowed 4 Colgate players to get into double figures. They let one guy, the big guy there, Records, get 22. He was dominating in the first half. Even when I watched, UVM got out rebounded in this game by 5. UVM had 11 turnovers versus 9. So some of that other stuff that they didn't do great. But all in all, it sounds like it was a good basketball game. It certainly was a good first half when I watched the whole thing. We're going to have Fiorillo on here in just a couple of minutes. But it's going to be a tough stretch for UVM now. It's going to be a tough stretch for them. This is a difficult part of the schedule. We got Colgate, who's a preseason favorite in the Patriot League. They're at Virginia Tech coming up on Saturday in the ACC. They're at Toledo, who's a MAC champion in the regular season a year ago. They're at Miami of Ohio. So they got 3 games in 6 days that are all on the road that are against some bigger conference opponents than you. There's a real chance that UVM could go 0-3 in this time. I hope they can get to at least 1-2. Any of these wins would be considered good wins as far as I'm concerned. I got to look up exactly where we're at right now with Miami of Ohio and kind of where they're at in terms of their record. But I go to Miami of Ohio's website and they want me to look it up. They're in something called the Cure Bowl in college football, which I have absolutely no. They're playing against Appalachian State at the against December 16th. I have absolutely no interest in that. Miami of Ohio right now is 4-5. That's the win that you're probably most likely to get. That's the win that I would think that you could get. When we look at Toledo, again, a team that was very, very good a year ago. Let me check in on how they are doing right now this season. They're 5-4. Could you win that game? Yeah, maybe. But I think it's more likely you get the Miami of Ohio game. It's a game that I want them to get for sure. So, Peter says UVM was cold from downtown, missing threes. They still hit 8, right? Again, 8 of 25 is not the best percentage in the world. It's just over 30%. But you still hit 8. It wasn't like they went 7 or they went 4 for 20. They still hit 8 threes. You hit 8 threes in a game, I'd like to think you have good chances to win. They got 71 points. You score 71, I'd like to think you have a good chance to win. It was the defense for UVM that let them down in that game as well. There was 2 11-0 runs in the second half for Colgate. That's what did them in. It is a difficult stretch here for the Catamounts for sure. But still, a guy who played well for UVM in that game on Saturday. He had 8 points in that game Saturday against Colgate. He had 14 against Yale or against Northeastern in the previous win last week is Nick Fiorillo. Nick Fiorillo, the senior who's back for another year despite the injuries in his career. He's going to join us next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
My name is Pamela Byron. I am the chair of Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice's Fall Appeal. CVHHH had a profound impact on my family. As my husband Anthony's dementia diagnosis progressed, at times it was incredibly challenging to manage. It was our hope that I'd be able to care for him in our home. Their hospice team allowed us to do just that in a safe and peaceful way. Every hospice team member took the time to talk with Anthony about his care, but also personally connecting with him about things that were meaningful to him. As his primary caregiver, they kept me informed, educated, and equipped to care for Anthony. Their kind words and sometimes a much-needed hug were timely reminders that I was not alone. Words cannot express how thankful I am for the care, dignity, respect, and compassion that CVHHH's hospice team provided throughout Anthony's care. We're so fortunate to have CVHHH in our community. Your gift today will help to ensure that other neighbors in our community can experience the benefits of compassionate end-of-life care when they need it most, just as Anthony and I did. For information about giving, please go to cvhhh.org. Thank you.
Ladies, it's that time of year again. You need to put this date on your calendar. Tuesday night, December 12th, is Nelson Ace Hardware's 14th annual Ladies' Night. This is Nelson Hardware's 40th year in business, and we have some special prizes for you. Appliances, tools, Yeti cups and coolers, and 2 different patio sets to get you ready for summer. We'll also have prizes from other retailers in the downtown and some special treats, including a wine tasting from Netto Family Vineyards. You'll save 20% off almost everything in the store. There are some exclusions. Call for details. Whether you're buying for yourself, a friend, relative, or spouse, you'll find them something at Nelson Ace Hardware. So ladies, join us on Tuesday, December 12th from 5 to 7 p.m. for holiday shopping, great prizes, and refreshments. Nelson's will be closed from 4 to 5 to prepare. Then the doors will be open just for you. It's Ladies' Night on Tuesday, December 12th from 5 to 7 at Nelson Ace Hardware in Barrie.
Granite, known for its strength, lies hidden deep in the earth and reveals itself only when the softer layers are worn away. At Rock of Ages, they dig deep to unveil the strength and toughness of the granite that lies below. Just like these college athletes dig deep to reveal the power within themselves. Rock of Ages is a proud supporter of Norwich hockey and reminds you that nothing is stronger or more beautiful than Barrie granite from Rock of Ages. Visit them on the web at rockofages.com.
The holidays are here and you know what that means. Shopping local. Hey, this is Caleb at Waterbury Sports. When this season comes around, even Santa shops at Waterbury Sports. If Santa's looking for skis and snowboards, cross-country gear, snowshoes, or outdoor apparel for any activity, that fat jolly fella heads our way. If he needs to find some off-season gear for biking, lacrosse, or baseball, it's all accessible for the holidays. If Old St. Nick is looking for stocking stuffers, we have tons of Nicks, Knacks, Paddywhacks, and the biggest selection of darn tough socks around. And there's always gift certificates. Waterbury Sports, your gift headquarters, downtown Waterbury, Vermont.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. The UVM men's basketball team 8-3 this season, getting ready for that difficult stretch. They are coming off a tough loss, as we were just talking about, against Colgate. Final score on Saturday at Patrick Gym was 77-71. Joining us now on the phone line is a guy who's making his Brady Farkas Show debut. It is senior forward Nick Fiorillo joining us now on the phone line. Nick, appreciate you being with us. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being with us. Good to see you healthy, first and foremost, right? Missed so much of last year with the lower body injury, missed the first 5 games or so of this year. What does it mean for you to just be healthy out there and contributing again?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. Last year was super frustrating, obviously, to miss as much time as I did and have to have surgery and do that whole thing. But and then obviously to miss the first 5 games again with a similar injury. But it really feels just good just to be back out there and feel kind of how I felt. I should have had the year last year. Just feeling good in my body, confident, not having to think about any of that anymore, and just going out there and being able to play and contribute.
Talk to me a little bit about your game, because when I first started watching you, I kind of had this vision of you as a stretch 4. And then now I see you playing a little bit more down low. Where are you most comfortable on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm playing the 5 position for UVM, and I'm always going to be a little bit lacking on the weight side. I'm going to be giving up pounds down low. But I mean, I've been able to learn how to fight down there and do my best. And offensively, I think on the perimeter, using my stretch ability and then also being able to, pass the ball and initiate offense is really where I've kind of carved out my role with this team.
Talk to me a little bit about your game growing up, because it's so interesting. 10 years, probably 12 years maybe, separate you and me in age. But we're similar builds, right? Tall and thin. And when I was growing up, I wanted to shoot outside, but it was very, very taboo for big guys to be outside, right? I was always told, get the ball to a guard, get the outlet pass, don't dribble, just get down low. And it was always a constant battle for me to play the way I wanted to versus the way big guys were supposed to play. Were you allowed to play the way you wanted to growing up, or were you kind of in a similar situation?
Yeah, I actually was kind of allowed to. Being from Maine, Maine's not a great basketball state. We have a lot of really good players from Maine, especially recently here. We have a lot of probably more men's players in Division I than we've had in years. But, the competition is a little bit few and far between. It's kind of similar to Vermont in that way, a lot of small schools. So growing up in Maine, like if you were the best player on your team or your AAU team, like you kind of were asked to do everything. So in high school, I would bring the ball up. I would initiate offense from the top, like didn't play in the post a whole lot. Like I kind of just did a little bit of everything. So, I'm not a traditional big in that way, but I think that helped me kind of understand the game from a lot of different positions. And I think that's kind of where you see a lot of my stretch ability and being able to initiate offense and pass the ball and do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because we have Aaron Deloney on every other week or so, and he really praised your ability to pass and see the floor and court vision and called you like a second point guard out there. So now I guess it makes sense to where all that comes from.
Yeah, it's just kind of having an understanding of the game and having played, been asked to do a lot in high school, and just an understanding of the game and also of the system here. I've been here for a few years now, and we have such a great system put in by our coaches that has grown and evolved even since I've been here. So just understanding the ins and outs of that and where my teammates are, and I'm able to kind of exploit that at points.
I've been now covering the team for, I think this is the 8th season I've been around UVM. I've seen a lot of really good teams, a lot of teams that have gone to the NCAA tournament and done special things. This to me feels like the most athletic team that UVM has had in the 8 years that I've been here. You're in practice every single day. Does that feel like a fair assessment? How athletic is this team?
Absolutely. I mean, we have, just off the top of my head, I think Mir and Illyria are 2 of the most athletic kids I've ever played with. But yeah, it's just a lot faster. I think we move the ball really well and we can fly in transition. Obviously, we're seeing our guards pick up in the full court a little bit more than we ever have. Usually that's not an emphasis. But yeah, we have a lot of different pieces, and it's been a really fun group to play with, honestly.
Nick Fiorillo joining us from the UVM men's basketball team here on the Brady Farkas show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I was at that game against Yale, kind of your coming out party for this season. You had those 8 points. You had the big and one. You had the big three, which I believe broke a tie at the time. You never want to see anybody get hurt, right? But Shamir Bowes goes out, and then Barreto was kind of limited before that. And that really seemed like it opened up the door for you to get some consistent minutes rather than quick 3-minute bursts where you're trying to kind of prove yourself out there. How much does just that consistent playing time now you've gotten over the last couple of games kind of help you feel comfortable and confident?
Yeah, it's definitely a difference. And I knew that would come kind of as I got over the injury. The first couple of games, you got to build back. You got to kind of get your legs back under you. But, I think the coaches have trusted me, and I appreciate them. Obviously with guys being out against Northeastern, other guys need to step up, and I was able to do that. And I think it will continue. And as I get more comfortable coming back from this injury, I think we'll see more of the same.
Talked about what I kind of dubbed the big man trio at UVM. There's you, there's Iliri Iafali, and there's honorary big man Sam Alamutu here, who's the power forward in the shooting guard's body here. Talk to me about your team kind of developing this big man presence that was kind of lacking in the early part of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely great to have 3-4 true big guys in our rotation. I think last year when I went down, that was something we struggled to kind of find. Matt and Iliri had to log a lot of minutes last year, and Rob had to kind of slide up to that 4 spot. But going back to my earlier years, we always had like 3 bigs in our rotation. So I think that's really huge to be able to mix and match rotations, give guys different looks. Obviously Sam is smaller, quicker, and stronger. And then you have guys who are longer and bigger like me and Iliri. So I think it's really great for our team, and it gives us a lot of different looks.
It's kind of getting ready to come up here towards the holidays. You guys are going to be on the road soon. You're going to have a couple tough games. I think Toledo is on the schedule. I think Miami of Ohio is on the schedule, if I'm remembering correctly here. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what it's like for you in this time of the year, right? School finals week is coming up. A little less class. Guys are going, the rest of campus is clearing out. What's it like to be a basketball player at this time of the year?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. You don't have to balance all the classes and stuff, which is nice. So we'll finish exams up this week. A lot of the guys will be done probably by Tuesday, maybe Thursday. And then it really just switches to basketball focus, right? Everyone goes home. We're either here or on the road. So it's really a good time to kind of reset your brain and really just lock in on basketball for those couple of weeks when you don't have all the distractions of having to study or missing classes on the road. So it's a good time, and hopefully we can pull out a couple of wins on this road trip before Christmas.
Do you like the campus life where everyone's gone and it's just the athletes, or do you prefer it when everybody's there?
I personally prefer when everyone's here. It gets a little dark and dreary in Burlington when it's snow, and it's a little bit of a ghost town because so much of the town revolves around the campus here. And, but we like it because you go to practice and then we come home and we just get to hang out together all day. We have a house here in Burlington where all the upperclassmen guys live, so it's a good time for team bonding. Definitely, we spend a lot of time together, and it is fun.
Deloney tells me he's the best cook on the team. Is this true information or false?
I'm gonna say false, but he does some good things, but he's overconfident, I think.
Who's the guy in charge of the pregame music in the locker room?
Pregame music usually goes to Sam. Sam has a good taste in music.
Okay, what's the coolest venue you've played in as a part of UVM?
Coolest venue so far, besides like the tournament sites, I would say I thought Maryland was really cool. I think that was 2 years ago with Ryan and Ben, that squad. That's right. Had a really good environment, really nice gym.
Who is the best player you've ever played against?
Best player you ever get to play against? The easy answer here would be obviously Anthony Lamb. He beat up on me my freshman year. Obviously the greatest catamount to come out of the school, and he actually came back a couple times this summer and played pickup, and it was a really good challenge to play against him. He's just so big and strong. You have no idea kind of what he can just do everything. So it's very hard to pick your spots against him.
Who of the alums still has good game? Guys that come back and play in the summer, et cetera, who can still hoop?
I mean, they all can. I mean, so many guys have, even the guys that don't play professionally anymore, they can come back and, they can still pull it out. And I've seen you in the gym recently. So, once a hooper, always a hooper, right? It's like riding a bike. It'll come back.
Nick, I don't know how long you'll intend to play men's leagues and things like this growing up or getting older, I should say, but you will learn this. The 3-point line will become your only friend because when you play in men's leagues, there is absolutely no point in going to the basket. I do not need to be getting hit anymore at 34 years old. I like to stand on the perimeter and just let it fly. And that's my game, and that's what I like to do.
There you go. Nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Speaking of alums, I did play against Trimboli, who's now, we're talking like more my age rather than your age, but I think he went for like 63 or something against me in a men's league once. So you talk about guys that can still hoop. He's still got it.
Absolutely.
So, Nick, man, we appreciate it. Glad you're healthy. Looking forward to seeing the Cats on the floor again here soon. 8-3 right now. It's been a great start to the season, and we'll catch up again down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brady.
Absolutely. Nick Fiorillo from the UVM men's basketball team. Yeah, I preferred it when Trimboli was on my men's league team. We did that once also, and Trimboli and I won the title. But the first time I ever played him, and Danny, this was insane, right? So I was in a league at the Burlington Y probably like 5 years ago. And maybe more, maybe like 6 years ago. And we played like
awful court.
It was an awful court. And then Burlington Y now is closed, right? They don't even use it anymore. It's in the news a lot for all the wrong reasons, but they don't even play, you can't play there anymore. So I was at the Burlington Y, and it was like Monday nights or something like that, or Wednesday nights. And I had heard like, oh, Trimboli's on the team. And I didn't know who Trimboli was at the time. And so I clearly, this had to be like 6 years ago for me to not know who he was. Cause I knew about UVM a lot because I was covering UVM, but I just didn't know everything I know now. And I was like, okay, this guy, okay, used to play at UVM, but he's 30 now, 31 or whatever. Like, all right, how good is he? He went for like 63. I'd never seen a performance like this before. Like I've seen guys, like I played against guys, I played against Jimmer, right? And I've seen guys who knew were good and followed guys that were good, but actually being on the court with somebody who could dominate, he had to have hit 15 threes. And I don't even know that he missed one. Like I've never seen anything like this to see him, and he scored 63. So I prefer it when he's on my team. But did you notice Fiorillo say about that? About seeing me on the court recently, Danny? Did you pick up on that one?
A little shout out to Brady's game.
So the last couple of days, right? So last Thursday, you and I, Danny, had an easier day, right? We had the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. So we did the news, but there was no show to prepare for, right? No audio to grab, no interviews to do, no interviews to plan. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go in the lab a little bit. So I went to the gym and I shot around a bit. And I posted a video of me hitting a three fairly deep, right? So I posted it, and our buddy Jack from NBC5 commented and razzed me a little bit. And Deloney messaged me. He goes, okay, it looks like you got a little bit of jumper. So I'm going to ask him about it. But so then yesterday, with no Patriots game at 1, I was like, well, I don't care much about the 1 o'clock football games. So at like noon, I went back to the gym yesterday, and I was like, all right, I'll post another video. So I've stepped back a little bit, a couple more feet behind the line. I was like 3 feet behind the line, hit another 3 and posted it. And I tagged Deloney and Jack in to just have a good time. And evidently Fiorillo's like, well, I've seen that. So there we go. So now I'm like, every time I go to the gym, I feel like I got to post a video now from a little bit further back. And it's either really funny and cool to see that a talking head can actually shoot, or it's the most arrogant thing ever. I'm not sure which one, but I do like letting people know, like, I don't just talk about it. I can hit these shots too, right? I didn't play Division I. I can't jump. I don't like going to the basket, but I can go out there and hit from 3 feet behind the line, fairly consistently. So I had to let the people know that.
Did you ever see that video of Stan Van Gundy crossing over in practice?
No.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like 10 years old now, but you wouldn't expect.
Like you could do it?
Oh, yeah. Like really tight crossovers. You wouldn't expect that from a guy that looks like that. He was probably, 50 at the time. Really
Iverson-esque?
Yeah.
Iverson, Jordan, Van Gundy, best crossovers.
Might be.
I am so mad at myself, though. You know what I just realized I forgot to ask Fiorillo about?
What?
About how apparently I was his motivation last season.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot to ask him about this. So I mean, we made a big deal of this last year, but so Fiorillo was hurt most of the year, came back at the end of the season with like 2 games left in the regular season. And I put out a tweet that basically said, I'm glad Nick Fiorillo is healthy. I don't think he's going to make that much of a difference. Not because he wasn't good, because I didn't expect him to play that much, right? Like, you would come this far with the group that you had. I didn't expect them to try to just kind of shoehorn Nick into the games in the midst of this playoff run and trying to lock up the top seed. So he caught wind of it apparently on social media, and basically in a moment of motivation, like, put that tweet of mine like as his phone background. Like,
first he said, "Who the hell's Brady Farkas?"
Could have said that too, but maybe I hope he would have known, because I had a bunch of his teammates on last year. But I hope he subscribed to the podcast. That's what I hope. But so it was his phone background that, like, this show was his motivation that I had said that. That was like, okay, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, you chump. And I found out about it. He and I met last year at the America East title game. We had a good laugh about it, shook hands. So, all is good, clearly. But I forgot to ask him about, my tweet evidently being his motivation last year, or being a motivating factor for him. I don't want to give myself that much credit, but that was interesting. When I heard that, I was like, damn, people really do listen and hear what we have to say. So, text says, hilarious question about who's the best cook. Others text says, I can't believe Cooper Flagg is from Maine. Cooper Flagg, I believe, is the #1 recruit in the country, according to ESPN. I can't remember if he's a senior now in high school.
He's going to Duke next year.
He's going to Duke. Oh, next year? Okay, so he's a senior. Yeah, he's going to Duke.
Committed.
But he is from Maine also, just like Nick Fiorillo is. So there you go. So Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. The baseball world is weighing in on Shohei Ohtani's crazy contract. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get out of here. That's next on DEV.
Waterbury invites you to think local, buy local, and be local by experiencing our many recreational opportunities with something for everyone in your group. You can hike, bike, walk, run, paddle, skate, and stroll, and even swim in Waterbury. Between the Perry Hill Bike Trails, Little River State Park, and Waterbury Reservoir, there's year-round fun for all levels. Get outside and start your next active adventure. Our small businesses and colorful mix of restaurants have everything you need to create an unforgettable experience. Even your dog will have a great time. Black Cap Coffee and Bakery of Vermont is now open in the historic Waterbury train station. Black Cap is the new place for lunch and for gatherings in Waterbury. Open daily with made in-house pastries and sandwiches for breakfast and lunch. Stop by on your way to or from any hike or bike ride, or for a central meeting location. Black Cap Coffee and Bakery is a great place to eat, meet, and work now in the Waterbury train station and in Burlington, Stowe, and Morrisville. Visit blackcapvermont.com for more information.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont and upstate New York's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
As the saying goes, you never get a second chance at a first impression. Hi, this is Dan at Always on Time Signs, where signs are our specialty. We believe that businesses of all shapes and sizes should have high-quality signage. With our experienced and qualified designers, we'll help you get the look and style you're looking for. We can create safety signs, banners, vehicle, window, and floor graphics, commercial signs, and more. Call us at 223-1362 or go online at alwaysontimesigns.com and let us show you the sign.
For many, Vermont offers the quintessential winter experience. But for some of our neighbors, it's a difficult time making ends meet. The Radio Vermont Group is pleased to once again partner with Capstone Community Action to help our neighbors in need have fuel and food this winter. And we're once again asking for your generosity. Media coverage is underwritten in part by
Plainfield Hardware. Visit Plainfield Hardware General Store and Deli on Route 2, midway between East Montpelier and Plainfield. Stowe Street Emporium Gifts and Boutique, with a unique and eclectic variety of gifts. 23 Stowe Street, Waterbury. StoweStreetEmporium.com. Morse Farm Maple Sugar Works. Amazing gift baskets shipped anywhere. Open daily from 10 to 5 on 1168 County Road, Montpelier. MorseFarm.com. Inklings Children's Books. 106 Mad River Green, Waitsfield.
The Radio Vermont Group urges you to help fuel your neighbors this winter. Go to WDEVradio.com to learn more, and go to fuelyourneighbors.org to donate today.
Hi, this is Anson Tebbets, co-host of For the Birds, heard Saturdays on WDEV. Each week, Chip Darmstadt and I discuss bird sightings, bird counts, and activity at your feeder. You also can listen anytime to podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Join us Saturdays at 7:30 and 12:15 For the Birds. 28 years on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. The gamut on Shohei Ohtani thoughts about his contract is insane. And I have to admit, I don't understand it all. Ohtani is getting $70 million a year, right? That's how it looks. 10 years, $700 million. He's taking only $2 million a year, and he will get paid $68 million a year for 10 years after his career ends. Some people think he's the smartest guy ever. Some people say there's tax implications that makes the deal actually less than it is. Okay, I don't understand that one yet. Other people will say that
you also get taxed in the state you're playing, so that's a whole interesting thing too.
Yeah, yes, and I think it has something to do with interest. Like, here is what I am gathering about this. Usually, Danny, if I give you a loan, right? If I gave you $10 today, and I say, all right, you're going to pay me back. You're going to pay me back with interest, though, right? So you're going to give me the $10 I gave you plus another $5 at some point, right? It's going to become $15. So that's how I made some money. What Ohtani is doing is taking that $68 million a year interest-free. So it is truly just $68 million a year. Still obviously a ton of money. But because of inflation, we would have assumed that $68 million today deferred might become $75 million a year in 10 years. That's not the case. So Ohtani is getting just the $700 million, but at one point his $68 million a year will be worth less. Again, it's still monopoly money, but because of interest or because of inflation, et cetera, $68 million in 20 years will be worth less than $68 million today. So some people are saying, well, is a deal that effectively is not worth as much as it's being reported to. Again, that all sounds a little bit convoluted to me. It's still a ridiculous amount of money. Some people say it's not a good precedent for the sport. I've seen former players say it's not a good precedent for the sport. I would agree with that. I don't love this because I think now you're going to see more teams. Dude, the teams are already deferring money, but never this much money. So there's just a lot of opinion. And when we get to Tom Caron later this week, when we get to Buster's really the guy that I want to talk to. We actually have a weird schedule this week on DEV, Danny. We have high school basketball. The Dave Morse Invitational is coming up to kick off the season on Wednesday. So we don't have a show on Wednesday, so we won't hear from TC live. I'm going to try to tape TC in advance so that we can have his audio for Thursday, but he's not going to be on the show live. We will have Buster on Thursday, so Buster's really the guy that I'm going to need to ask a lot of this to, and I'm sure we will get audio on this tomorrow as well. I'm sure there will be stuff to get to. Just absolutely wild day here. Ohtani's going to make $2 million this year. The list of players making more than $2 million is insane. It's obscene. Backup catchers are making more than $2 million, are making more than Ohtani in salary this year. Danny, let's do 2 minutes here on the NFL officials, right? And they've been talking about it all day on every network. The whole Chiefs and Bills play here. Kadarius Toney lining up offsides. To be honest, I've never seen offsides called on the offense before until yesterday. And then I also saw it. We saw it in the Dallas game later at night as well. I don't get what people are up in arms for about this. Mahomes is mad at the refs. Andy Reid is mad at the refs. Kadarius Toney was lined up over the ball. You can't do that, right? If it was a defensive player lined up in the neutral zone, we would call it. The offensive player was lined up over the ball. That's a penalty. What exactly are we complaining about here? Danny, I don't know if you realize this. I don't know if the general public realizes this. But when wide receivers go out wide, what do they always do, Danny?
They always check with the line judge there.
Yes, they point at the ref to make sure that they're good. and the ref tells them, yes, you're good, or no, you're not. Kadarius Toney didn't do that. Harry Douglas, who hosts the show on ESPN Radio with our guy Freddie Coleman, said, like, he looked at the video. He's like, he never got confirmation from the official. So he's not good. And therefore, it's a penalty. Andy Reid and Mahomes are like, well, you always get a warning. Yeah, you get a warning when you point and ask the guy, hey, man, am I good? And the guy says, no, you're not. Okay, let me back up. He didn't do that. It's a penalty. What are we complaining about? And the other thing is, I've always said this. This has always been my take. Referees impact games. Referees do not cost your team a game. The Kansas City Chiefs got down 17-7 against the Bills yesterday. You don't get down 17-7. You don't need a call in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left to go your way. I'm sorry. The Bills also were driving in the second half and took the lead with that field goal. Don't let them go down the field then, right? Don't let them go down the field, and you won't need to worry about the official's call. The Chiefs committed an illegal contact penalty, which kept the Bills' possession going before that. Don't commit that penalty, and it's a harder field goal or no field goal at all or a further field goal, and you have more time left. You cost yourself the game.
For whatever it's worth, they said it's called 11 times this year. So,
okay, so
more than usual.
The call was correct, and I don't really want to hear any more about it. Why this is a big deal, I don't even know. A penalty is a penalty, and especially when it's a procedural penalty. This wasn't even subjective, right? We're talking about, okay, pass interference, holding, defensive whatever, defenseless receiver. Those are all subjective. I kind of get arguing about those. This is like clear as day. The line of scrimmage, you were past it. It's a penalty. Offensively or defensively, being past the line of scrimmage is a penalty. You got down 10 early. You committed illegal contact late. Clear as day illegal contact. You allowed Buffalo to waltz down the field. You lost. The refs didn't take it from you. You lost. That's how I look at it. It's the Brady Farkas Show on DEV. Thanks to Nick Fiorillo for stopping by. Really good to catch up with him. We'll have Aaron Deloney tomorrow from the UVM men's basketball team. We'll have him respond to the comment that Nick says he's not the best chef on the team. So we'll get that. That'll be fun as well. Thanks to Danny. Thanks to you. Go download the podcast. We'll see you tomorrow on DEV.
AARP Vermont is working hard to make